Welcome back, guys. Oh man, have I been looking forward to this one. The Gamerz Tek 16-bit HD entertainment system. So obviously this is a Super Nintendo HDMI clone. This one plays NTSC and Japanese releases. You have a 2-year warranty exchange with Gamerz Tek. They're really good. There's a bunch of warnings here talking about cleaning cartridges. It says use either rubbing alcohol or glass cleaner. Never use glass cleaner on your cartridges. I've seen so many times people use Windex on carts and it corrodes the contacts. Don't do it. Don't do it. Use an eraser or a high percentage alcohol. You should be fine. But using Windex or any glass cleaner, no. Damage will happen. So let's go ahead and unbox this and see what she contains. And the box isn't nothing fancy. Gets the point across. That's all right. Little cheap plastic tray with all our contents here. Nice. We do get 2 controllers. Very lengthy cords. These are over 6 feet from my estimate. I haven't measured them or read anything saying how long they are, but they seem to be about 6 feet or more. And they do have, you know, a familiar look and layout to a Super Nintendo controller. Doesn't feel exactly the same, but so far it doesn't feel bad. Definitely going to have to test this out and give my impressions once I've actually played some games. But overall, just the immediate feel of it, it doesn't feel too bad. I felt plenty of Super Nintendo clone controllers that just feel like junk. And these are pretty good feeling so far anyway. So then let's take a look at the system. Here she is. Little warnings and instructions underneath, it looks like. Yeah, it's got all their information if you need to call them or email them, and Gamerz Tek's really good with customer service. And it does repeat using glass cleaner on your contacts on the games. Don't do that, man. Why would they put that in here? Don't do it. Don't do it. You're better off opening her up and using an eraser. It works pretty good. But buttons on this thing are feeling all right. You know, the power button pushes in, and then push it again. It comes back up and you turn the system off. Controller ports, little LED for the system power. We do have audio and video and HDMI and a 4x3 and 16:9 aspect ratio switch. So that is pretty nice. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the contents. We do have a decent looking HDMI cable, pretty thick feeling. Our AV cables, just in case you want to hook them up to a CRT. Then we do have a power brick and our power cable. So there we go. Good thing it came with everything we possibly could need. And this power is 5 volts at 1 amp. So I'm going to make sure I use the power supply that's included. I don't want to risk using something else, just in case. Don't want to fry anything or mess anything up. So I will be using the power brick that came with it. And I highly recommend doing the same if you get this. So far, you know, this thing doesn't look too bad. Doesn't exactly look like a Super Nintendo, but it also doesn't not look like a Super Nintendo, if you know what I'm saying. I don't know. It kind of has that look to it. But let's go ahead and compare. Here's the Rasptendo Pi case. It looks almost identical, to be honest. So there's that. And then here is the Super Nintendo, the SNES 101, or the Junior official. You know, about the same size and weight as the Gamerz Tek. So that's pretty nice. You know, even the SNES, the 101, kind of felt a little light. So, you know, I'm not knocking the system for feeling light. They both feel about the same weight. And then here's Super Nintendo Classic Edition. So there you go. That's what they look like all together, comparing the size. We are going to test out some games. High quality multi-cart, very cheap quality Chinese repro, and then an official NTSC US released cartridge. And then we will also be testing a Japanese released official cartridge to see what to do and how everything performs. And I'm also going to test this out with the 8-bit though with the retro receiver and use the original controller that came with it. So let's go ahead and get this party started and test some games. So here we go, guys. First game I'm testing out a little bit is Chrono Trigger US release. Official cartridge. This is not a repro. She boots up and looks just fine. I did notice on my recording that the blacks are not as black as what I am seeing on my television. So, you know, just be aware of that. It looks a lot darker, the blacks anyway, and whatnot on my actual monitor versus the recording for some reason. I've tried tweaking with that a little bit, and it's just the blacks are a little fuzzy and weird sometimes. So that's that. I don't know if that's necessarily anything with the system. It could just be my capture hardware. But so far, testing out some games, everything has looked and sounded beautiful in my opinion. And the controller that comes with the system actually feels really good as well. I did not record it, but I did play Super Mario World and Super Mario All-Stars with the controller that was included. Don't want to record any of that because then Nintendo would claim the video, and this is not a, you know, first-party Nintendo-only video, so I don't want them to do that. But just taking my word for it, playing Super Mario World with the controller that is provided felt very good. The response times, everything was great. I can fly through, you know, the first handful of levels like nothing, just like using an original controller. So that's a definite plus. Not the best controller in the world, and not the worst. I've definitely used other third-party Super Nintendo controllers that were just garbage. This one I would give like a 7 out of 10. You know, basing an original Super Nintendo controller is a 10 out of 10. An 8-bit Super Nintendo 30, I would give that a solid 9 out of 10 as far as the feel. Now, I have used the retro receiver from 8-bit and the SNES 30 controllers and a couple other 8-bit controllers and Bluetooth controllers on this system, and everything works great. So far I am pretty impressed, and I'm really digging this. Gamerz Tek has been known for making clone hardware. They do have an HD Nintendo and then previous non-HD versions of all their systems. This system is NTSC. They also do have a PAL region version that you can get on their website, but this works fine if you're in the US and that's what you want. If you're in the UK or anywhere that uses PAL and you want to get a clone system like this, you'll have to get the PAL version. So let's go ahead and try a high quality multi-cart repro. So here we go. This is a custom cartridge by Retro Circuits. Cannot recommend them enough. They are awesome. So this is Sailor Moon R and Sailor Moon Another Story multi-cart. Pretty sweet stuff. We're going to go ahead and, you know, play a little bit of the first level Sailor Moon R. I really do love this game. And like I said, the blacks are not as black on my recording as they are on the actual monitor I'm playing the game. I don't know why. It looks a little fuzzy on my recording, but on my TV, everything looks great. So, pointing that out again. Sorry, guys. Not sure what the deal with that is. But it's great that... Oh, man, I wanted to pick Sailor Mercury. Whatever. I think it's great that we have this, and I've really been looking forward to an HD Super Nintendo. We do have the analog Super NT coming out, but that's not until February, and that retails for $189. I do have one of those pre-ordered, but I wanted an HD Super Nintendo for ease of use and not having to mess around with a bunch of cables, like with my SNS 101 that is modded and uses, you know, clean sync SCART and whatnot, or S-Video, because then I have to use an HDMI converter box to record or to do anything, so it's kind of a hassle. So this is something I was really looking forward to so I could do some more content on Super Nintendo. I'm still planning on doing a crazy full day, like long from beginning to end stream of Final Fantasy II, because it's one of my favorite games of all time. And this is the system that I will most likely do that on, unless it winds up being until February when I do that, but I'm hoping not. I hope to be able to schedule that pretty soon. But so far, you know, this high quality repro looks great. Let's go ahead and pop in Hagane, an official real Japanese cartridge. So here we go, Hagane, and I cannot say this enough. This game is amazing. If you have to have it in your collection, you're into getting carts. The US release is freaking crazy expensive. Crazy expensive. The Japanese release, It's climbing up there, so now's the time if you want to get this game. Get the Japanese release, because there is no text in the game other than pretty much the stage names is about it. The game's just straightforward action, craziness. The game gets a little difficult later on, but this game is pretty sweet, so highly recommended. If you gotta have a real cartridge, you don't want to spend, you know, almost $1,000 for the game, Japanese version is where it's at. Unless you just get a repro, that's always an option. But if you want the real cart, Japanese, it's a lot cheaper, man. A lot cheaper. And a brilliant, awesome game. And with playing this on here, this game is, you know, it's all action, so the controls need to be very responsive. You know, you can't really have any input lag and whatnot. I'm not an expert at this game by any means. I have beaten it a couple times. It can get a little difficult later on, but you know, the more you play it, the better you get, obviously. But so far, you know, using both controls on this, the 8-bit-do and the controller that was provided, they both work flawlessly on this game, and I'm not having any issues. I'm, you know, not really playing it. I'm just jumping around, hitting buttons to see, you know, the reactions to the buttons, and you know, if there's any noticeable input lag, and I'm not experiencing any of that, so that is a definite plus. I am really digging this system, and so far it's what I was hoping for. So let's go ahead and move on and try out a cheap Chinese repro. So here we go. This is the King of Demons. This is a very cheap Chinese repro. And it's booting up, sounds and looks just fine to me. So no issues. I do not have an EverDrive or any flash carts to test. I don't own any flash carts at the moment. Have used them in the past, but I don't have them any longer. But from what I understand, from you know what I have been told and what I have seen, flash carts work just fine. And if you play games with the Super FX chip or the SA1 or anything like that, they all work just fine as well. Now, Gamerz Tek has stated that the system has, you know, high compatibility, 98% plus. But I have not seen any games that don't work, and I have not heard any reports of any games that do not work. So I think they just play it safe just in case there's something out there that gives somebody a problem. Like, okay, that's one of the 2% of the games that don't function. But I have tried a ton of games, official games, multi-cart games, cheap Chinese multi-carts, US-made multi-carts, you know, Japanese titles. I've tried a lot of games prior to recording this, and I have not had any issues as far as games booting up, playing, sounding right, or glitching out or anything like that. No issues whatsoever. So if you're looking for an HD Super Nintendo to play your carts on, or you're looking to get into it, or you have a handful of carts but no system, or your system, you know, no longer works, this is a definite good option, especially for, you know, people who want to record videos, streamers, stuff like that. Or like I said, if you just want to play at home, if you want to use, you know, plug this in and use some 8-bit-do controls and sit on your couch and play and not have to have, you know, wired controllers, definite great bundle to do that. Get those retro receivers and 8-bit-dos and have at it. I'm really digging this. I mean, I cannot wait for the analog Super NT to come out, but that is a pretty pricey system at $189. Plus, you know, the shipping's a little high as well. So you're looking at, you know, $200 Super Nintendo that I am pretty much 100% positive is going to function, look better, sound better, and be of higher quality than the $60 system. But not everybody is going to want to spend $200 to play Super Nintendo games. Some people aren't going to really care for the HDMI, but a lot of people will, especially if you do not have a CRT TV, or if playing your Super Nintendo games through AV on your HD TV, if it just looks like garbage, then, you know, hey, this can revive that for you and make your games a lot more enjoyable by looking decent. You know, if you're playing through SCART through an HDMI converter on, you know, like a modded SNES 101, you know, the Junior, or, you know, a one-chip Super Nintendo system, they do look better than this, in my opinion, from what I have seen and tested. And if you guys want to see comparison videos of, say, this system playing the same games versus playing them on a modded Super Nintendo through HDMI converter, or, you know, comparing to the RetroPie, which is not really a fair comparison. Let me know in the comments down below and we could peep that out. I will put a video together comparing the same games, or, you know, not necessarily these games, but comparing the same games on both systems to see what the differences are as far as sound and video, you know, visual qualities concerned. So I appreciate you guys stopping in, checking this video out. Smash that like button if you could, means the world to me. Check out my 10,000 subscriber giveaway. That's coming up pretty darn quick, man. Really soon. So definitely peep that out. And with that said, guys, I will catch y'all next time. Boom!